Well, I hope this works out because I don't know. The internet isn't. Something's going on here, but we are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this rebel outpost. And whatever you want to say about this college football YouTube channel, whether you hate the host, whether you disagree with everything I say, if you do not like my picks against the spread, just because historically they're at about a 42% winning percentage, you do not like my singing, whatever, you do not like my food choices, for whatever reason, you Einsteins like a cheeseburger. You have to come to the conclusion that this is your true college football rebel outpost. No strings attached. None whatsoever. So if you want to support this college football rebel outpost, the home for the college football sickos with a donation to help us keep the lights on. Hit that $sign where you make a comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. We'll get to your phone calls after this monologue. If I don't lose all of you in the process because of the internet, or because I get all of you so pissed off that you got to turn this channel off. It could happen. I'm going to try to be professional. I'm going to try to be calm, cool, and collective. That's what I'm going to try to do today. I'm going to try to keep calm, be professional, just like all those other college football YouTube channels out there. They're very logical. They're not over the top. They're not emotional. They try to stick to the facts. That's what I'm going to try to do. I also going to say this. I'm going to fail at staying calm, cool, and collective during this live show. So forget about it. Forget about it. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. Not today, not on August 19th. Hell no. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. This has been an eye-opener the last 48 hours. Now we got Matt Hayes. The Big Ten is ruining college football. Dennis Dodd is supporting it. Dennis Dodd is coming on in. Every single college football reporter, all of them, not all of them, almost all of them. Oh my God. How dare the Big Ten think of ideas? They haven't presented them yet. They're just talking about it. It's in its infancy. How dare the Big Ten be talking to the SEC? This cannot spread. This virus shall not spread. We cannot let go of the power that we have to shape the narrative with this BS metrics that we put out. All this garbage. No. We cannot lose our grip. We cannot lose our power. We cannot lose our access to the SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey. Don't tread on me, Big Ten. Legends and leaders and legends. This is the worst the Big Ten has been. This is a trap. The Big Ten is trying to trap us all. Let me be clear. I am perfectly fine here at Peek Around the Corner. Perfectly fine for those who disagree. That's not the point I'm trying to make. I've already seen some comments in the chat room. I don't even agree with the Big Ten 2018 format. We haven't seen it yet. Although, hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Somebody in the BTM circle of his associates did in an email give us what is being talked about in its infancy, not being presented yet. Just a thought. This is what is being passed around. by those who are very close to some athletic directors, I'll put it that way. Some money perch people. So we've got something. I'm going to show you. Now I took the information from a body of an email and I threw it up on a page, and it doesn't look good, whatever, but I think it's going to show you an example of what is being passed around in its infancy. It may never be presented. I know it's terrible that the Big Ten is thinking of things. It's not terrible for the Southeastern Conference to have discussions, though. You guys got to understand, the Southeastern Conference can have discussions of playoffs up to 32 teams. That information was leaked. The Southeastern Conference can have discussions over the last couple of months of making sure there's interconference play-in games in the first round of the playoffs. It's okay for the Southeastern Conference to think that, to talk about it, but the Big Ten, how dare you, the Big Ten? How dare you even think about it? That is what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. There is not much, there probably isn't any difference, but I'll grant you, maybe there's a little bit of a difference. Maybe the Big Ten's taking the lead on it, but there ain't much of a difference between what the Big Ten is doing and what the Southeastern Conference is doing. They're both discussing larger playoff formats because of multiple reasons, and they basically share the same motivations. Both conferences are doing it. Now, we've had leaks that both conferences are doing it, but only one conference is being portrayed as ruining college football. What a bunch of BS. I will end this in this way. And we're going to come back to it. I have taken shots at Tony Petitti. I will continue to take shots at Tony Petitti when I feel it's warranted. I will say, Tony Petitti, I believe you are correct here and incorrect there, just like I do with everything else in college football. Hopefully I do it on the merit. Hopefully my biasness won't creep in, but of course I'm only human, and I'm sure my biasness do creep in. But I'm not going to take shots at one commissioner and leave the other one with no shots, and while they're doing the same damn thing. We're not going to do that at Peek Around the Corner, because I don't need to make sure that I have access. And Tony Petitti, the one that I've been hammering on most of all the conference commissioners, I have given you the nickname Silent Tony over the last 6 months. Silent Tony this, Silent Tony that. No longer with a host of this show called Tony Petitti, Silent Tony. I'm not going to do it. Even though I think you should have, whatever. Not going to go down that road again. I'm not going to call you Silent Tony. Because as of today, I completely understand why Tony Petitti does not talk to the college football reporters. It pisses them off. It used to piss me off. No. You don't have to say a damn word to the college football reporters. When you and Greg Sankey are doing both the same thing, and only one of you is getting beaten up every single moment on every single article from every single college football reporter tied to ESPN, used to be tied to ESPN, wants to be tied to ESPN in the future. Tony Petitti, you don't have to say a damn word to these college football reporters. You keep communicating to Brett Yormark, Greg Sankey, Phillips, and your institutions and your media partners. You don't have to say a damn word anymore. I absolve you of all your sins when it comes to being silent, Tony. Because now I have finally, the moron from Minnesota, the fat guy from Minnesota, I'm not bright. I am not too bright. I'm not the brightest bulb in the refrigerator. I just happen to know where every refrigerator is. In every building that I walk into, I make sure of that. But I finally figured it out. Tony, the college football reporters and the college football landscape is a hostile press. They are hostile towards you. I don't know all the reasons why. I mean, a lot of them have been anti-Big Ten for a couple of decades, and that's fine. I really have no problem with that. But they are really intentionally hostile towards you. They love to slap the back of Greg Sankey. They love to have drinks with them. They don't want to get on his bad side. Greg Sankey will attack him. He will attack you in public, so you wanna keep hands off. But then on the other end of the circle, you have to drill into Tony Petitti, even though Greg Sankey is doing the same damn thing. You are working with a hostile press, Tony Petitti. So don't say a word. Don't play nice. I mean, so the Big Ten can't even think of an idea, can't even pass around an idea, can't even talk to, no, come on. This is the worst college football reporting I have ever seen. Worse than during the COVID era, worse than during whatever era. This is the worst. Not because they are against not because they disagree, it's because they're mocking one conference. And they're treating the Southeastern, they're swooning. They're swooning over Sankey. And he is having the same discussions. The same discussions with his athletic directors. The SEC athletic directors, some of them agree with the Big Ten. There is no consensus in the Southeastern Conference. There's no consensus everywhere. They're trying to thread the needle. They're trying to find the sweet spot. But go ahead. Continue to mock only one commissioner. But I'm going to call you out on it. Because that's what I do here at Peek Around the Corner. Okay, so getting off my soapbox, but somebody has to say it. No one else is going to do it. The other college football, I have to do it. I have to do it because I'm going to tell you guys something. I'm going to tell you something. My Big Ten colored glasses, do you know that I'm not even welcome? I couldn't even get a Big Ten media pass for the media days. That's how welcome I am in the Big Ten. This is not about this is not about agreeing to an idea. This is about mocking a conference for just trying to come up with ideas, and another conference is doing the same damn thing, and oh my God, it's glorious over there. I'm calling it out. Look, you think this is all by happenstance? Do you really? You think the Florida State going 13-0, not making the playoffs just happened? Do you think a 13-0 Alabama would have not have made the playoffs if they would have lost their starting quarterback? Do you think a 13 Georgia team, if they would have lost their starting quarterback, would have not have made the playoffs? The ESPN machine is always at work. And I so happen I'm not attached to ESPN. I can't get an immediate pass for the Southeastern Conference, for the Big Ten, for anywhere. This is the Rebel Outpost. And I'm going to call it out how I see fit. But the last 48 hours, everyone is saying this is the most embarrassing time of the Big Ten just because they're coming up with ideas. And by the way, the Southeastern Conference is doing the same thing. I've been watching these college football YouTube channels. I've been watching Andy Staples, Ari Wasserman, Josh Pate. I've been reading Dan Wenzel, Brett McMurphy, go right down the line. Right down the line. None of them have put their hands on the Southeastern Conference. No Big 12 YouTube channels, no ACC YouTube channels, no Southeastern Conference YouTube channels. Nobody has touched the Southeastern Conference for exploring, talking about playoff formats up to 32 teams. Nobody has touched the Southeastern Conference for exploring, talking about interconference playing games. Why is that? That's all I'm asking. Why is that? Why is that? Why is that? Because you're a bunch of lapdogs, you're a bunch of ankle biters? I ain't no lapdog. I'm too big to be a lapdog. I'm the fat guy from Minnesota. I'm calling it out. The hypocrisy in the college football reporting the last 48 hours is astonishing. Even though we all know how it works, it's embarrassing. I have, the chatter behind the curtain. I've got relationships with those in that world. They know how I feel about this. I'm not nervous. I don't care if I lose my access to some parts of the chatter behind the curtain. This has been atrocious. I mean, it was leaked that the Big Ten has had infancy ideas. Ideas that they haven't even accumulated enough to where they can present something. The same stuff has been leaked about the Southeastern Conference. Everyone is talking to everybody. But only the Big Ten gets mocked. I mean, I've had Big Ten people. Look, Big Ten, they are hot. I told you about how hot they were when the SEC spent 72, 96 hours on Indiana not being to belong in the playoffs and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then they quickly forgot about Tennessee's performance. We all knew that was going to happen. The Big Ten is hot. The Big Ten boosters, the money perch, they are very hot. I keep asking, we're at DEF CON 2. I keep asking, are we at DEF CON 1 yet? Are we at DEF CON 1 yet? Not yet. But someday we're going to get there. I've had Big Ten people say to me today, they have said to me, Greg, the worst thing that has happened and the best thing that has happened to the Big Ten is that they were a Big Ten football team that won the Big Ten National Championship 2 years ago. And then there was a Big Ten football team, a Big Ten institution that won the national championship a year ago. And that broke the brains of those at ESPN. Paul Feinbaum, if the Big Ten wins the national championship this year, I'm leaving the country. Come on. Even though that's a joke and for entertainment, come on, man. What are we doing here? Following college football reporters is now becoming like following politics. When you click the channel, you know what side they're going to be on. They're on the same side every single day, right? When you turn on MSNBC, you know what their narrative's going to be for the day. When you turn on Fox News, you know what their narrative is going to be for the day. That's how it is following these college football reporters. They just so happen to be 90% on one side. Anyways, I'm going to continue to call it out as I see it, regardless of what happens to this YouTube channel and regardless of what happens to my connections with the chatter behind the curtain. I made my bones before I knew any of them, before any of them knew me, and that's how I'm going to continue. But anyways, we do have an example of what is being floated around there. And I'm going to show it in the back half of this monologue. And I got to tell you, I don't support it. I don't support, if this is a Big Ten floater out there, I don't support it. Not quite, not yet. I'm not there yet. And that's okay. I'm not going to mock the Big Ten. They're ruining college. And then treat the Southeastern Conference totally different. But we're going to show you what it looks like. We're going to actually show you what the BTM and his associates actually say this is what it's looking like. And it's attached. This example has only really a couple rules to it. And we're going to get to it. Okay. Before we get to that example, we are going to go through The Athletic. I love this article. I love what they did at The Athletic. They made a bold predictions for the 2025 football season. We're talking college football. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a great article. And we will hit on what we hit on earlier today. Bear Bachmeier going to be QB1 at BYU, the first true freshman quarterback to start the opener for the BYU Cougars in BYU Cougars football history. And it's going to be Bear Bachmeier throwing to Tiger Bachmeier, the Bear and Tiger connection. Mark Gronowski has been or will be named QB1 for the Iowa Hawkeyes, according to On3. So there's a lot of name. Oh, and CJ Carr. CJ Carr did win the battle for QB1 at the Notre Dame Fighting Irish over Kenny Minchey. Kenny Minchey put up a big-time battle in the Notre Dame Fighting Irish spring battle for QB1, but it does go to CJ Carr. CJ Carr's got an arm. Miami, Notre Dame, it's going to be a great one. Week 1. Okay, let's get to it. Let's go to the Super Chats. Jim Soburn, thank you for the Super Chat. I appreciate it, Jim. Thank you for the $5 holler. Thank you for your support, helping us keep the lights on. Greg Disney Adventure, thank you for the $2 holler. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Greg, Buckeye, Greg, thank you. Heartbreak 25. This is the media choosing to cover the hype about the story instead of independently reporting the facts. Big Ten should keep playing the long game. I think they will. The Big Ten hasn't presented anything. They're not pushing anything. Not yet. But yet I've had about 15 different X accounts tell me, well, the Big Ten's pushing it in the Southeast. None of the leaks told that story. The Big Ten's coming up with ideas. Oh my God, you cannot come up with an idea. The reporting has been, it's been God horrific. Thank you so much, Heartbreak 25. I appreciate it. Appreciate it so very much. Jim, the Big Ten understands that if you have two equally qualified teams, you have no teams. Remember Baylor TC situation in 2014. I do remember that. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate the super chat. Your generosity. Espis Talks. ESPN is the leak. It throws shades at the Big Ten while trying to ensure that they minimize their spending. ESPN pays pennies for SEC and the ACC championship game. Thank you, Espis Talks. I appreciate your super chat for your continued generosity. Holy smokes, Bill G. Thank you, Espis Talks, Jim, Heartbreak 25, and Greg, Mr. Buckeye. Bill G. Thank you so very much. Hold on. This internet is playing games with me. Bill G gifted 5 memberships. Culture Provocateur, Primetime Travelers, Copman 55, Frank Holloway, and Lewis Pop is back in the house. 5 gifted memberships when you get an opportunity. Please say thank you to Bill G once again. He's been giving out 5 gifted memberships for years now. Months, years. Thank you so much for all of your generosity, Bill G. All of you are knighted. Once again, officially knighted, cloak and dagger. Cloak and dagger. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Bill G. You can go to our YouTube channel and watch all the episodes that we've put out there. And we did put out an episode. Early this morning. I did not delete anything, Rod. I did not delete anything. I have not deleted anything. The CBS reporter Brennan Marcellus said that the Big Ten mega plan was leaked by a pro mega plan source. That's fine. It's not even really a plan yet. We believe we have some sort of outline of what it could look like, and what is the driving force behind a big, expansive first round. We believe we have some information, but again, the Big Ten has not presented this to the Southeastern Conference. They have talked with each other. The Southeastern Conference has talked about big, expansive playoff plans. The SEC has talked about playoff plans all the way up to 32 teams. That was leaked. The SEC is interested in inter-playing games in the first round, inter-conference playing games. That was leaked. It was leaked that the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten has had some communications. It was leaked that there is nothing really to present to everybody as something to push. The differences between the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten Conference, it really isn't that big a difference in the information that was leaked. The only big difference is how the National College Football Reporters decided intentionally to cover both conferences. That's the only difference. That is the only difference. Yes, great job, Bill. Thank you, Bill G. Thank you, Esmus Talks. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's bad, Jose. This is the worst I've ever seen it. It's the worst I've ever seen it. One reporter said the Big Ten needed to die. I mean, it's bad. I think it's fun. I think it's fun for large fan bases to be anti-Big Ten. I got no problem with people being anti-Big Ten. I don't even have problems with reporters, of course, having biasness and leaning one way or the other. But the reporting of the last 48 hours, oh my God. It can't be any worse than this, in my opinion. It could not possibly be any worse than this. None of them have touched the Southeastern Conference. Not one. Give me a name. Give me one name, one reporter that has said, how dare the Southeastern Conference think about a playoffs of 32 teams, of 28 teams, of a big, large playoff, of an AQ model. Not one. They dare not to. Don't dare me, because I will. I will. Oh, God. All right. Evil Badger. Greg, reporters are afraid of losing access to the Southeastern Conference and ESPN. That has become quite apparent. They don't want to upset the almighty ESPN. The reporters can go bleep themselves. I'm not going to say that last part, at least not in public. But they do know the relationships that I have. They know I've never been this pissed before. This has been bad. It has been really bad. I've got no problem with John Kurtz at all. I don't have any problem with John Kurtz. He's putting out his opinion. We disagree. I have no problem with John. I have no problems with people ripping the Big Ten's, even their ideas. But when they rip that they have ideas and they mock the Big Ten and they don't touch the Southeastern Conference when they're doing the same thing, that is a step that I... But no, don't get me wrong. Me and John Kurtz disagree. I think the 5+11 with the Southeastern Conference staying at 8 conference games would bury the Big 12 in the next 5 years. It would hurt the Big 12 way more than any public statement saying the Big 12 has agreed to only half or 75% of 66% of the AQs of the other 2 conferences. That's my opinion. We differ in our opinions. Thank you, Evil Badger. Thank you for the $5 holla. I appreciate it. Appreciate it so very much. Look, at some point, and I don't want to get people in hysteria because there's a lot of hysteria out there right now, but at some point, we're going to go from DEFCON 2 to DEFCON 1. You know, things are going to change drastically anyway. So, but anyway, we'll get to that bridge when we have to burn it. Okay, so let's do a roll call, even though I'm way late and I probably missed most of you. Hanus is in the house. Vox Quindaro is here. VB Hokey is in the house. C. John, D5 Terps, Mr. Terrapin, the Big Gun Shop. Jerry's in the house. Mr. Buckeye, Greg, Mr. Buckeye, MBM, Or Simmons is here. L. Woody is here. Jose Bob Swanger, Stormy Cyclone, Rod Nix, Jay Chapman is in the house. Jerry is here. Caden is here. The Big Ten and the SEC could guarantee that their schools host home campus playing games with their own conference playing and keep all the money for themselves. That is true. But I don't think, well, that is not this idea in its infancy that was floated to us here at Peek Around the Corner. We are going to show that in the back half of this monologue. It's not quite what First of all, I want to thank everybody for sharing their ideas, their vision of what an expanded playoffs could look like. I've read all of the emails. I haven't gotten back to all of you, but I've read them all. The idea that was shown to us, that is believed, this idea is being passed around as what money perch people believe is a plan that they're looking at, is much simpler than I had envisioned. It's a pretty simple concept. It is not what I try to figure out. It's not what people really wrote to me. It's a much simpler plan. And it doesn't quite do what it doesn't do what Caden's message says. Tough Tony's in the house. There's a rat at the Big Ten headquarters. Fringe Elements is here. Lewis. No, I'm sorry. Weiss. I keep reading that as Lewis. Texas Tech, Red Raider, Weiss. They are in bed with the SEC and ESPN. Reggie is here. Rod Nix. Smile Time is here. J Go Blue. Al Bundy. The Architect is in the house. Chris Kenny is here. The Big Ten's new era was just, it was the beginning of the new athletic season. So it started with soccer, Big Ten soccer games. That's all that it was. That's all that it was. MG Sooners in the house. Almighty is here. Defiant Brother is here. SECM 12 is here. Mick Stevens, Frogs, Dante's Inferno, Purgatory, Tumasta. Hopefully I didn't lose. Jacino is here. No playoff expansion with Notre Dame in the Big Ten. Jerry, Greg, what is your best guess as to when we'll find out about the next wave of realignment? I'm not going to take a guess. I'm only going to keep my nose to the ground and my ears to the ground, and we are going to keep poking and prodding. We don't think anything is imminent. But I do think, if you want me to take a general guess, I think teams move officially in 27 or 28, which means the official notice will come in 26 or 27. That is my best guess. Playoff situation. Yeah, the playoffs have to be figured out first. Okay. Hey, Jerry, thank you for the super chat. Very much appreciated. Thank you for your support, for your generosity. I know that wasn't a great answer to your question, but 26, 27 on the notice of withdrawal, 27, 28, a team formally moves. I don't think we're going to get to 2030. I could be wrong. No SEC realignment without North Carolina. Okay. Thank you guys for joining us today. I appreciate it. I love this article. I love it. Guys, we're going to talk some college football, and then we are going to get into what we were given, a little example of what is believed is the idea, one of the ideas that the Big Ten is passing around in its infancy. It's not a part of the presentation. We're just going to give you an example. I took it out of the body of an email and I put it on a page. It doesn't look very good. My apologies for the poor production value. I'm just going to show you and explain a couple of items. It's a pretty simplistic idea. I'm not promising you that this is what the Big Ten is even going to consider at the end of the day, if they're going to, but this is just something that seems, it has most definitely been passed around. I'm not the only one that has this piece of paper. Okay? All right. But first of all, The Athletic. Our experts, college football playoff Heisman and national title predictions for 2025. Who will win the national championship? Again, The Athletic, the staff. Texas gets the most votes at 12. Clemson gets 5 votes. Now, yours truly, Greg the Gold, has Texas and Clemson in the championship game. So maybe I'm not so stupid after all. LSU. Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Georgia get the rest of the votes on who will win the national championship. Karan Shakar, I believe the winner is not even on the athletics list. You could be right. Shakar could be absolutely correct. The national title game matchups. Clemson and Texas lead with 6 votes. The Buckeyes and Texas 4 votes. The Nittany Lions and the Longhorns with 4 votes. Clemson and Penn State with 3 votes. Oh, so there's a few combinations here. A few different combinations. The athletic predictions. Who will win the Heisman Trophy? Jeremiah Smith, number 1 with 15 votes. Garrett Nussmeier, 5 votes. Arch Manning, he gets 3 votes. Cade Klubnik, 3. Jeremiah Love, 1. Sawyer Robertson gets a vote. Now, in our Heisman list, now that is 6 names, right? Jeremiah Smith, Garrett Nussmeier, Arch Manning, Cade Klubnik, Jeremiah Love, Sawyer Robertson. In the PATC Heisman Watch rankings, heading into week 0, we've got 5 of those names. We have Sam Leavitt, the quarterback of Arizona State, at number 3. We do not have Sawyer Robertson, although I'm a big fan of Mr. Sawyer Robertson. I mean, heck, I got Baylor coming in 2nd place, going to the Big 12 championship game, in large part to the quarterbacking of Sawyer Robertson. So I've got no problem with this list. No problem at all. The Heisman Trophy, who will win it? The athletic predictions. The Big 12. Who in the Big 12 is going to win the title? And who in the Big 12 is going to get a college football playoff bid? Arizona State, 6 votes to win the Big 12. The Texas Tech Red Raiders, 6 votes to win the Big 12. Kansas State Wildcats, 5 votes to win the Big 12. The Cyclones, 4 votes to win the Big 12. Ooh, look at this. The Baylor Bears. I'm not the only one who fell in love with the Baylor Bears in the offseason. 3 votes to win the Big 12. Utah, 3 votes to win the Big 12. The TCU Horned Frogs, they got a vote to win the Big 12. The college football playoff bids, look at that. Kansas has a vote. BYU has a vote to get to the college football playoffs. Arizona State Sun Devils lead all Big 12 teams. 10 votes to make the college football playoffs. The Big 10. First of all, I do not see my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers on this list. Boo! Penn State, 15 votes to win the Big 10. The Buckeyes, 11. Oregon, the defending, reigning, undisputed Big 10 champions, they get 2 votes. There's only 3 teams that got voted to win the Big 10 championship. Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon. College football playoff bid, Penn State 27 votes. The Buckeyes 21. Oregon 21. The Hawkeyes 4. The Cornhuskers 3. The Fighting Illini only got 1. The Hoosiers only got 1. The Michigan Wolverines only got 1. The Michigan Wolverines only got 1 vote. Wow. Washington Huskies, 1 vote. As you all know, in my playoff predictions, I got Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon. I got 3 Big 10 teams making the playoffs. The Southeastern Conference. Texas leads Southeastern Conference Championship. They get 18 votes. The LSU Tigers, 5 votes. Bama, 2. Georgia, 2. The Aggies, 1. The college football playoff bids, Texas leads with 28. The LSU Tigers 22, Bama 18, Georgia 24, Texas A&M 5, the Gators 5, the Gamecocks 4. The Sooners get 2. Ole Miss 2, Tennessee 1. I look, you guys know how I feel about Ole Miss and Tennessee this year. I think they take a couple steps backwards. The Athletic also agrees. Which group of 5 team will make the CFP? Which group of 5 team will make the CFP? Boise State with 10. Tulane with 6. I've got Tulane. Navy 4. Memphis 3. UNLV 3. James Madison from the Sun Belt Conference. They get a vote. San Jose State. They're not even on my radar. They get a vote to make the college football playoffs. Now, this is what the first round would look like. The consensus of all the athletic predictions. You would have number 9 Oregon against, number 8 Oregon at home against Alabama. You would have number 5 Georgia versus number 12 Boise State. You would have LSU Tigers versus the Miami Hurricanes. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish versus the Arizona State Sun Devils. That would be your first round. Excuse me. That would be your first round. Consensus picks. So you would have 3 Big Ten teams, right? You would have, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 SEC teams. You would have 2 ACC teams. You would have 1 Big 12 team. This would be the first 5 out, according to the Athletic. Texas Tech Red Raiders, Texas A&M Aggies, Kansas State Wildcats, South Carolina Gamecocks, and the Florida Gators. That would be the first 5 out. Now, I always knew that Austin Meek, the Athletic Michigan Wolverine staff writer, was a genius. I always knew that Austin Meek was a genius. Bold prediction and hot takes. Lastly, we ask our panelists to submit their bold predictions for the season. Here is a selection of the best. Austin Meek, Karan Shakar. Wow, Austin Meek is on something. Or he's on to something. Or he is on to something. Austin Meek. Minnesota, the Kansas Jayhawks, the Syracuse Orange, the Baylor Bears. One of those 4 teams will make the college football playoffs. The Minnesota Golden Gophers have been listed. Yeah. The dream is alive. The dream is alive. Pete Sampson. USC will fire Lincoln Riley after a 7-5 season. The Notre Dame staff writer goes after Lincoln Riley. And maybe before then, USC has invested in its football program with a new general manager and a big bet on NIL, yet the talent level isn't what it used to be under Pete Carroll or even the coaches who follow him. Despite the cost of pulling the ripcord on Riley after 3 years, a 3-game skid at midseason, losses at Illinois, home to Michigan, and at Notre Dame makes Riley's future untenable. Holy smokes. Y'all think that's going to happen? Could that happen? This is a bold prediction. USC will fire Lincoln Riley after a 7-5 season. Whoops. I got off my page here. Hold on. There we go. Do you think that could happen? Maybe. I got to tell you, though, I do not have Lincoln Riley on the top 6 of the hot seat, in which Joey Maguire and James Franklin will be removed after week 0 is over. Going to be replaced, but I just wanted to make a point. I do not have Lincoln Riley listed. Not yet. He could be on there. Eric Single. Clay Helton's Georgia Southern, 35. Lincoln Riley's USC, 31. Wow. Seth Emerson. The college football playoff manages to match up Georgia with Carson Beck in Miami in the first round. Georgia and Miami, first round. Seth Emerson's bold prediction. Christopher Camarani. Carson Beck will be replaced as Miami's quarterback by late October? Holy smokes. Ralph Russo, the Almighty, in the chat room. Norvell should be on that list. Well, I tell you what, if Florida State gets rocketed by Alabama in week 1, Norvell will be on my list. Will be on the PATC list. No question about it. Ralph Russo, amid relentless rumors about James Franklin being considered for the vacant Florida job, Penn State is knocked out of the quarterfinals of the college football playoffs. Franklin leaves to replace Billy Napier, who was fired in late December. The move ushers in a new era of coaching changes in the expanded playoff era. Jim Thaw, Rutgers will go 2-1 against any combination of Oregon, Penn State, and at Illinois. Holy smokes, Jill Thaw. I said Jim Thaw. My apologies. Jill Thaw. Rutgers is going to go 2-1 against Oregon, Penn State, and the Fighting Illini of Illinois. Jason Kirk. After Notre Dame wins the national title, everyone else will immediately restore the "you must win a conference to get a playoff bye" rule. Jason Kirk. Kate Heropoulos. UNC and Bill Belichick take advantage of an easy schedule to win 9 games. Scott Docterman. The Big 12 will have 4 or maybe even 5 teams tied at the top with 7-2 records. Matt Brown. After Texas beats Texas A&M to close out the regular season, Texas A&M beats Texas to win the Southeastern Conference Championship a week later. And Georgia and Bama both missed the playoffs. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Matt Brown's got the Aggies to win the Southeastern Conference Championship. Mitch Sherman. Arch Manning will throw for 300 yards in all of Texas' first 5 games, including road wins at Ohio State and Florida. Then Arch Manning will throw 4 interceptions against the Oklahoma Sooners. Wow. And then finally, Grace Raynor. The loser of the Buckeyes-Longhorns game is going to win it all, is going to win the national championship. And you know what? That is considered a bold prediction. That is my prediction. That is going to be my prediction. I think the Buckeyes are going to win game 1, but I think the Longhorns are going to win the whole damn thing. That's exactly what I think is going to happen. So I don't know if that's a bold prediction. Anyways. So that was that. I love articles like that. We haven't had one of those. Bold predictions, 2025 season. Again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Smash the like button if you've liked our content. And make sure you share the video with your family and friends. When you do subscribe to our channel, turn on the notifications. We can come on live. We cover everything in college football. Now, I am going to present to you what is believed among BTM and his associates, what it would look like. One of the plans that are in infancy, I shouldn't even call it a plan, it's an idea. This idea was written down. This idea is being passed along. I'm sure there are others. But this one, it was given to me per an email. I took it out. I just threw it on a page just so we could all look at it. I left the email out of it. I just sort of copied and pasted. It isn't what I thought it was going to be. Now, again, this is just, maybe this is an outliner. Maybe this is just not what, how do I say this? Maybe this doesn't resemble well, let me just show you. Let me just show you guys. We'll go through it. It's pretty easy here. The idea of the 24-team playoffs. Now, the teams listed here may not be exactly correct. That's not what's important. Okay? That is not what is important. But along with this idea, there's a couple things in here. Okay. Before I go through this, and we talked about this yesterday because I received the email yesterday. The major goal in having this expansive first round playoffs is to have 16 on-campus home playoff games. Okay? 16 on-campus home playoff games. That seems to be something that is driving the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten Conference to look at these large playoff formats. And before we get back to the example, and we talked about it yesterday, it's because these home playoff games were so beneficial to the home teams last year, economically. The money that they bring in. So they want the top teams to have the same opportunity to have a home campus game than your 8, 7, 6, 5 teams that are ranked. Your top ranked team should have the same opportunity. So that is why the number 24 works so well. Because with the 24 team playoffs, 1 through 8 are going to have their home campus game. Right? And 9 through 16 are going to have their home game at campus. So there is 3 levels of incentive. 1 to get rated in the top 1 through 8. 9 through 16. Okay, now, what's also is, so this is being passed around here, and I honestly, I really don't know what to make. I'm glad this was passed to me. I'm glad they gave this to me. But it raises question. Okay, first of all, this idea, it would be in the body of the email, it said this would be straight seating for the schools that are straight seatings for the schools that are eligible. In other words, if you are in the top 6 in the Southeastern Conference, the top 6 in the Big 10, the top 4 in the Big 12, the top 4 in the ACC, if you're one of the top 2 G6 programs, and if you're one of the top 2 at-large programs, now you are the eligible teams, and now it's straight seeding. It isn't pre-planned that a third place SEC team plays a fourth place. That's not how it would work. So if you take, now Jim says, what the bleep is SMU doing at number 8? Sorry, but this bracket just lost all credibility. Well, Jim, give me time to explain. Okay? Give me time to explain. And again, the seedings may not be exactly what it would have been. That's not really what so don't even look at, don't take that too seriously. But the seeding, the straight seedings of the eligible teams would be right after, I think it's week 13. So there would not be any conference championship games. The top ranked team, the top team in your conference standings would be your conference champion. There would be no, so at the last year, after week 13, these are your straight seedings, but not entirely. Okay? First of all, Missouri was number 19 in the rankings after week 13. But Missouri did not get an at-large bid. And they would have lost out to LSU in the conference tiebreakers. Supposedly. Now, that might end up being incorrect, but again, it doesn't really matter. For our purposes here, as we try to explain this idea has a few attached rules to it. One, okay, so Ole Miss is an at-large team. Supposedly. I've been told in the email. But they would get the 13th spot because that's how they were ranked. They're an eligible team because they're one of the top 2 at-large teams along with Notre Dame. After you are considered an eligible team, now it goes to straight seeding. Now, Iowa wasn't ranked 23. They were not in the top 25. Colorado was not in the top 25 after week 12. LSU was not in the top 25 after week 12. UNLV was ranked number 20, but they would not have gotten in because Army was ahead of them. I don't know what UNLV was, but they were behind Army, supposedly. Boise State and Army would get the 2G6, G5. Also, there's another rule here that was attached to this example. Supposedly, in this example, it was said in the first round, it is straight seeding, but you can move a team off a line if it's playing a team in the same conference. So in reality, it should have been, according to this email, it should have been Indiana versus Iowa, but they moved Colorado in there. It should have been BYU versus Arizona State, but they moved Illinois versus Arizona State, BYU versus South Carolina. It was Alabama versus LSU, but you moved Army into Alabama, LSU versus Miami. It would have been Army versus Miami. So it is straight seeding for 1 through 8, straight seeding through 9 through 24, but it can be adjusted because they want to make sure there's inter-conference games being played in the first round. So, having said all of that, with a few rules attached to this, it's not pre-planned on like who the third place ACC team is going to play in the first round. It's not pre-planned on who gets the first round byes. That goes straight seeding. It is thought that the SEC would never agree to something like this unless it's straight seeding, and probably the Big Ten. So it's not pre-planned. There is no Big Ten play-in games, SEC play-in games. The play-in teams just get thrown into the expansive first round, and there you have it. So the extra money you get in the playoffs is going to be more evenly distributed with all the schools. So that is the idea. It's more simple than I thought. Or at least that's what's been given to us. So again, let's just pretend that this is the actual thing that they're going to push. And we don't know that. It could not be this. It could be the 28. It could be, but this is something that is being thrown around. Now let's pretend for a moment. And again, I just saw a message. Look, these exact teams and these exact places. It might not be so, but this was what was in the email. So it could be wrong. Most definitely it could be wrong. But I think you guys understand the spirit of this exercise of what people think this is an idea. Now, imagine if this is it. Basically you're taking the top bowl games, right? And you're slotting them into these playoffs. Hopefully you are enlarging the playoff money big enough to make this worthwhile. You are really not adding too many football games. In fact, you're not really adding any football games. These teams would be in a bowl game, first round teams. You're canceling out the conference championship games. You're not even having really playing games. So the added football games discussion really doesn't apply with this. Now, one of the pushbacks would be the ACC and the Big 12 saying, look, why don't we have the same amount of AQs as the Big 10 and the SEC? That would be the major pushback, right? And the Big 10 and the Big 10 and the SEC, to be honest, would probably have the same argument that the ACC and the Big 12 has. Look, I'm going to be honest with you about something. No, it's not because they suck. It's not because they suck. I'm going to be honest with you about, we're going to have to get blunt about something. I see a lot of people going, well, Greg, God dang it, if we're going to 24 teams, if we're going FCS, we are going to go, we should go, it's morally correct, it's what's best for college football. We need to have 10 conference champions and then the other 14 be at large. If you're going to do this, Greg, if the SEC and the Big Ten are going to have these wild ideas of these 2014 playoffs, you got to have 10 conference champ. Okay, I'm going to be blunt on why that is not going to happen. It's not going to happen because it would not bring enough dollars into it. This is about eyeballs. This is about eyeballs generating money. You're not going to have 10 conference champions, six G6 champions in the playoffs. You're not going to do it. The Big 12 would not be for it. The ACC would not be for it. It wouldn't generate enough money. Gonna be honest with you. The more Southeastern Conference football teams that are in the national tournament, the more money the advertisers are going to make. Plus the Buckeyes, the Penn State, the Michigan Wolverines. I got something in my eye, sorry. The Big Ten, the big fan bases, the big alumni, SEC. That's why. That's why the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten pulled the power play that they did and said, we got to have more money, more distribution money in our playoff distribution per conference than you guys. Or we're going to take our ball and go home. I'm not saying it's cool. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that's the reality. We're not going to have 6 conference champions from the G6 into a 2014 playoff. So whatever model we go to, there has to be more access for the Big 12 and the ACC. There just does. But I know people are saying, well, we can't allow this unless we all have the same amount of AQs. The problem is, it's not the Big Ten and the SEC has the power. The best case scenario is to get more Big 12 and ACC teams into the playoffs and then have a 3-year look-in. Have a 3-year look-in just in case the Big 12 fights above its weight, or the ACC, or if there is material realignment. Which, by the way, that is what's in the current playoff model and money distribution, part of the contract. The first year of the expanded playoffs, the 12 teams, the ACC and the Big 12 did not punch above its weight. It could this year. It could next year. And the numbers can change. That's how it is in this contract. And I think it has to be part of the next contract. Plus, of course, if there's a material realignment change, which there's going to be. So the number of the AQ models are going to be flexible for the good and the bad. They're not going to be cemented in. But to begin this thing, the Southeastern Conference is going to have more AQs and the Big Ten is going to have more AQs. what I like about the AQ model, even though there's a discrepancy between the conferences, is I like the fact that there are going to be more teams in the playoff hunt later in the schedule than ever before. And you're going to follow your conference standings. And it still incentivizes non-conference scheduling because you can win in that large bid. It keeps Notre Dame from keeping their status of football independence. It doesn't force them out, which it can't force them out. And you win it on the field. If you win, if you get into your fourth place in the Big 12, third place in the Big 12, second place in the Big 12, first place in the Big 12, top 4 in the ACC, if you're one of the top 2 ranked conference champions of this G6, you are in. And then there's 2 at-large bids. Now, I like the 18 or 20 team model. And then there is room to grow it after the next material realignment change. But I'm going to tell you, the number one thing that was told to us, the major goal for the Southeastern Conference in the Big Ten is to have 16 on-campus home playoff games. 8 and then another 8. The first 8 are the teams that are 9 through 16 in straight seeding. And then the second round are the teams that are seeded 1 through 8. Because the on-campus football, there's not going to be a team that has 2 playoff games, home playoff games, right? So it's 9 through 16 gets a home playoff game in the first round. Seeds 1 through 8 get a home playoff game in the first round. This is why the number 24 is very attractive. There's going to be more money. We're reading all the news, right? We're reading about Virginia Tech. We're reading about Iowa State. It's not just those 2. Everybody is under financial stress. The student athletes are getting paid money, rev share money. And you know what? Every time there's an article out there about raising student fees or possible private equity or possible private capital or raising tickets or borrowing against the university, whatever. You know, some of these college football reporters throw their arms up in the air and, oh my goodness, well, ladies and gentlemen, we wanted the student athletes to get paid money, and they're getting paid money. That's a good thing. But these athletic departments, they're about to break, and they're going to need to raise more money. And these student athletes are going to have to get paid for the extra games that they're playing, although in this format, they're really not playing an extra game or an extra 2 games. But the driving force behind the SEC and the Big Ten, who according to college football reporters are trying to ruin college football, the driving force behind the large AQ models and their AQ models. The driving force is the home campus playoff games. They were an incredible success last year, and with more planning, more preparation, ready to get sponsorships on board, ready to throw extra signage into the stadiums, they know that it's going to be an incredible incentive for teams to get to the playoffs, to get to the top 8, to get to 9 through 16. The home campus games are the driving force for the 2014 playoffs. This is college football's peek around the corner. We're giving you the peek and why. Instead of burying a conference for thinking about ideas outside the box, oh my God, we're telling you what the driving force is. We're going to get to your phone calls. Let me know what you thought about the Athletic article on bold predictions. Bold predictions. Bold predictions. My favorite one being, let me see if I can find it right there, Austin Meek. Austin, the genius Meek. The athletic staff writer, Michigan Wolverines. One of these 4 teams will make the CFP. Kansas, Syracuse, Baylor. What's that 4th team? I can't read it. What is that 4th team? Your beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers. Holy smokes. Nick Kelsel. Greg, will you be able to disclose what team was in the mail document header that did not have a recent conversation with the Big Ten, unlike Notre Dame, Virginia, North Carolina, Clemson? Yes, I will be able to tell you what that is, but not now. And when I tell you what that university is, you will understand why I could not say it. And that alone might give you a hint, a wink, and a nod on what university that is. But I can't tell it now. Nick Kelsel, thank you for the question. Appreciate it. Appreciate for being an early peak member for 19 months. Holy smokes. 19 months, Nick Kelsel. I'll tell you, Nick, when I do give out that information, it's going to be in an early peak Cloak and Dagger episode. So for the rest of you, you better get on board. You better become a member of this growing YouTube channel here at Peek Around the Corner. When I give the information, I'm going to drop it in an early peak Cloak and Dagger episode. I'm going to go ask once again if I can put that out there. It's been some time. Maybe the heat won't be on certain people. So, but anyways, thank you, Nick Kelso. You are knighted, Cloak and Dagger, once again. Al Bundy, when did Austin Meek get released from the nervous hospital? Mr. Buckeye, Greg the Cooler will make multiple appearances this season as Greg the Gold takes an extended cheeseburger vacation at Cheeseburger in Paradise. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Greg the Gold, how do I say this? Greg the Gold's ensemble is arriving at the house. The little general ordered it for a Wednesday delivery. So either Saturday night or Sunday's Aftermath show, when it becomes apparent that Greg the Gold is either 3-0 or 2-1 in week 0 picks, you will be seeing Greg the Gold live and in color, live and in gold for the very first time here at Peek Around the Corner. You're welcome, Nick. You are welcome. Greg Gold is a myth like Bigfoot. Okay. Phone lines are open. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. The lines are open. The lines are open. Let me know how wrong I got everything once again. I'm in a better mood. I was a little hot.
Call from
Rick.
Rick is on the line. The floor is yours. How you doing, sir?
We're doing well.
Good.
The number's up to 24.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Just an idea, I think.
I like it.
You like it?
As first view, I like it. And my question for you is, what problem would the SEC have with that scenario?
Let me throw it up on the screen again. Please don't take This is just an example. Please don't take where the team. Don't take it too seriously.
Right.
That's
No,
it's
you
just an
can
example.
you can plot in other schools,
Yeah.
but you're calling it a 6-6-4-4.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Plus-
For eligible teams, 6-6
Right.
4-4-2-2, and then it's straight seeding once you become an eligible team. So,
But what consternation?
I'll tell you what it is. I'm gonna guess. I'm only guessing, guys. I'm only guessing. Okay, that's all I'm doing. I'm speculating. I'm guessing. Me and Rick were just talking. So don't anybody. Please, we're just talking. One of the things I can see is the Southeastern Conference would get what it wants with straight seeding, right? This is a positive for the Southeastern Conference because Texas and Tennessee and Georgia, they would all be getting a home game in the second round. In the first round, South Carolina, Alabama, Ole Miss, they'd all be getting. The only SEC team that wouldn't be getting a home game is LSU. So, it would favor the Southeastern Conference in that aspect because they're going to have more teams ranked higher. But again, in a 2014 playoff, in this example, they would have 7 teams make it, right? 7 out of 24. And really the cap would be 8 out of 24. That is 33%. In a 12-team playoff, right, what we're looking at now, it's 33%, right? 4 out of 12. I mean, it's not a cap, but it's not a cap. So I guess, no, what am I doing? 7 out of 24 is, it's less than 30. No, it's less than 33%, right? So maybe it's not a big enough. No, the cap would be 8. That's right. 8 out of 24, 33%. Boy, I don't know, Rick. Maybe this does work for the Southeastern Conference.
Well, I'm looking at it, and I don't see anything that they'd have to complain about.
Now the Big 12,
and my point being, if they're happy with it, and Tony's happy with it, it's all over.
Well, that's true. But I think they want the Big 12 and the ACC to be happy with something.
Well, maybe they can't be happy, period.
Well, I think they can. The Big 12, again, they would have this, and I get the argument. It's a viable argument. It really is. The brand argument, to say we're only, now it's better than half, right? It's better than 2 and 4. This is 4 and 6. You're saying you're 2/3 as much as the SEC and the Big 10. But I think it's more important for the Big 12 to have as many opportunities to win playoff games. I think that would help their brand more than standing up and saying we're equal to these conferences and we're not going to, you know what I'm saying? It's because in a 5+11, there's going to be plenty of seasons where the Big 12 is going to be in danger of not getting 2 teams in, not getting 1/8 of the teams in. In this case, they're getting more than 1/8 of the teams in, but that's the floor. Way higher percentage than that. And they're not capped at 4. So
you don't have to convince me.
Yeah.
I don't see the problem. I don't want to know the feelings. I want to know what the problems are.
All right. Well, let's ask the chat.
Find out. Who's got a problem and why? Thanks for taking the call.
I don't know.
Talk to you later.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Great call. Thank you, Rick. Again, there's gonna be people who have problems with it because the Big 12 and ACC do not have as much access as the Big 10 and the SEC. That's going to be the problem for some.
Call from
AZ Buckeye.
Alrighty, sir. I did not get the name.
AZ Buckeye.
Okay, go ahead, sir. Appreciate the call. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I might have missed it. Are the conference championship games eliminated? Does that mean it would be the regular season champion would now be the champion and tiebreakers and all that?
It sounds like that's part of some of these ideas. Yes, no conference championship game. Whatever the number one team is at the end of the regular season, per tiebreakers, whatever is needed, flip of a coin, whatever. Maybe you'd have co-champions. That would be the conference champion. As weird as that sounds, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. The second thing is, would this idea be still ESPN broadcasting all of these games?
Well, now that's a great question. I mean, that is 23 games, right? 23 games. We would go from 11 to 23 if we're just, again, this is just one idea that's being passed around. It may not even be the leader in the clubhouse, right? It could be 28. Right. It could be 20. It could be 18, whatever. Or there is no leader in the clubhouse right now. There probably isn't. That's a great question. I definitely do not have an answer for it. It is a great question. Look, there would be a challenge. I don't know. It would be a challenge to televise 8 playoff games on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday weekend, especially when you're running up against the NFL, and you're going to have to do that 2 weekends in a row, right? 2 games on Thursday, 2 games on Friday, 4 games on Saturday. And you're going to have to do that 2 weekends in a row. So that's a great challenge. And, they're not all going to be on ESPN. They've already sub-licensed some to TNT. But the ownership of all 23 games all go to ESPN? Boy, that's a great question.
Well, and so I guess the third question is, I understand what you were saying about the conference championship games, but there's nothing in this that would preclude leagues from still doing play-in games to get to those automatic qualifiers, right?
You're correct. Well, yeah, I see what you're saying. For example, let's say you are the Southeastern Conference. And is there anything that would stop the Southeastern Conference from having a 5+8, 6+7 play-in games in their conference to decide that 5 and 6 spot? That's what you're asking, right?
More money.
More money. You control that game. You control the money.
Fox would like it.
And if we're going to have total deregulation of how conference decides that, that's a great question. Now you add in another game though. In this idea, you're not really adding any games, not really, to these teams. But yeah, you're right. It could happen.
Food for thought. That's it. Thanks, Greg.
Appreciate it. Call again, sir. Great call. Excellent call. Wow, we get great calls here on PATC. Eric Ruby, I'm all down with the 2014 4466 model. I want this thing, Eric Ruby says. Now, in this model that is being passed around, there's only 2 at-large bids. Does that bother people? Is that why in a 2018 model, it would be 775522? But with the 2018 model, I believe you're going to get a double bye. I don't think anyone wants to go to a double bye. But the driving force with these big, expansive playoff models is getting 16 on-campus home playoff games. 16 institutions are going to have home playoff games, which have been a remarkable success, at least in the 2024 version playoffs. But that is one of the driving forces. Make no mistake about it. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate the dollar holla. Oops, what's going on here? Jim, you retracted your message. That's why I couldn't. But thank you anyways for the attempt for the super chat. I appreciate it, Jim. Greg, you have my typo up. Yep, I know what you meant. My apologies. So Eric Ruby, UCF, getting ready for the first game back. Scott Frost, welcome back. Eric Ruby does like the idea. Again, the Big 12 has a floor of 4 teams to make the playoffs. Could get more. We would have to turn our attention to conference races instead of the metrics. UCF would know exactly what it needed to do to squeeze in to the top 4. Or maybe the Big 12 would have their own play-in system. Right? Maybe the Big 12 would say, okay, number 1 team in the regular season is the Big 12 champion. Number 2 team, you are automatically in the playoffs. But that number 3 team, man, you've got to play the 6th place team. The 4th place team, the Big 12's got to play the 5th place team. The winner of those 2 play-in games are going to be going to the national playoffs, and that's more money for the Big 12. But that is more wear and tear on your teams going into the playoffs. So I don't know.
From
Replica.
Replica is on the line.
Press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
What's going on? Replica, are you there?
I am here.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I hit the wrong button. The moron from Minnesota hit the wrong button. The floor is yours. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, sir.
We have real football this weekend.
Yes, we do. We made
And
our
I'm
picks
glad-
yesterday.
Yeah, and I'm glad they got this story out the way because it's talking time is over. I want to hear some past pop, but
Yep.
I'm sure you probably know I don't like this format, but not for. I just don't think. I think 2014 is too many.
Yep.
And I'm a person. I value like the big season, regular season games. I want to see teams play each other in non-conference, and I don't think there should be all of these contingencies in order for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why certain teams are taking games off or scheduling how they want to schedule, but I don't. The way I see it is the era in which college football operated previously, where everything was about self. I think that is over with. That's not sustainable. When you're having to pay players now, when you ignore the Ed O'Bannon case in 10 years,
Yep.
like you lost that opportunity. Now, I'm not saying it should be communism and everything has to be perfect and equal amongst everybody, but
Yep.
there does have to be a concept of operating as partners, even if you're not, even though these are all separate, like let's be honest about it, these are all businesses, each one of these conferences, and these are athletic departments. So I'm not saying that we should be doing everything for each other, but at the same time, there has to be some kind of cooperation.
Yeah.
And we can't get to the point where we're losing like the core audience trying to chase the casual audience, because the casual audience comes and goes, and that's what I don't get about this push for AQs and all this stuff. There are ways that you can resolve some of these problems in a sport without resorting to AQs and stuff. And the biggest obstacle college football has right now that people aren't talking about is that it's way too close to the NFL calendar. Like we just had a playoff where we had playoff games in the middle of January. Like ESPN is not going to dedicate its promotion, its airtime, its resources to getting the most out of college football playoff games in the middle of January. That's why I've been saying they need to move the season up. The season needs to be starting in the first week of August, and we need to be getting to the end of the season no later than the first week of January, because once we get past Christmas, ESPN, which is the main power broker in the sport, and I'm going to get to that part in just a moment, they're going all in on the NFL once Christmas rolls around. You can even see they're doing holiday games in conjunction with CFP games. So this idea that we're creating buys and we're trying to have all these home playoff games, there's a better way to do it. You just need to move the season up. I don't think it needs to be more than 16. There needs to be it needs to be special to make the CFP. It needs to be special to have that opportunity to compete for a national championship. And if you're telling the entire country that before a ball is even kicked, the sixth place team in a certain conference has a guaranteed opportunity to compete for a national championship, you're taking a lot of the luster away from games that should mean more. That's what makes college football unique, is the urgency. That's what sells more than anything else in sports, is urgency. And I feel like this whole it's convoluted, but it doesn't create urgency. It just reduces urgency, because you have a conference race, but by the time you get to November, you're gonna know for the most part who's in and who's out. Maybe those last one or two teams, or the one or two spots are coming up for grabs, but I think you should be trying to create urgency. And to get to your point at the beginning of your monologue about how people are grilling the Big Ten, I spot Rant, or should I say a mole. This got leaked intentionally on purpose right before the week started. And I think it's probably one of these reporters who have changed jobs in recent months, because there's no other reason to leak this now other than to try to make the Big Ten look bad. And ESPN is tightening their grip on the narrative. I remember Dan Wessel and the Yahoo guys, they were going at the SEC relentlessly last year, and all of a sudden he's on ESPN doing podcasts with Reese Davis. And I already told you what's going on with On3 there. That's going to end up getting folded into ESPN within the next 5 or 10 years anyway, which is why you see them pushing to hire all these I don't even want to call them reporters anymore. They're names.
Yeah,
they're hiring names, people who can drive engagement, like McMurphy and Josh Pate, who I've already predicted to be the next Bomb. That's what they're grooming him for.
They're driving, and they're all driving. Yeah, yeah. You're spitting truth right now. I'm trying not to lose it. I absolutely agree with you. Shame on. I mean, I knew this was the truth, but shame on me for not having my eyes wide. Go ahead.
I said it's different when they take the mask off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, this is I wouldn't get too upset about it. It's not that dissimilar from us getting on the SEC when they're complaining at their little meetings or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, this will all pass. Like once we get to next week, nobody's gonna be talking about formats, but they do need to get this stuff done because December is coming up.
Yeah.
And this is not the time to be digging your heels in. Like if you can't get everything you want, try to get as much as you can and agree to something.
Yep.
So we can try to get to 2031 and then we can maybe think about something else. But yeah, we need to get to a point where they can just agree upon something. They need to start working on 2031, and it can't be one media partner dominating everything because that's how we got into the situation we are. Because whether we like it or not, ESPN is providing most of the jobs regarding college football. There's not an NBC or a CBS outside of like on a smaller scale. So all these reporters, they're going to bow down to the SEC even if they're not working for them because it's a game of snakes and ladders. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I'd rather stay at 12 if they can't agree to something past that because I do like what we have, and I don't think we need to – you don't need to get to a point where this playoff becomes like every other playoff in American sports because then it's not special, and then, like I said, they need to fix the calendar so it can actually get the promotion and the investment it deserves. And it's going to be hard to do that as long as you're running up with the NFL. So,
Replica, beautiful call, my man.
Farmageddon.
Yes, Farmageddon. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with Kansas State. I don't feel good about that, but I need to see Iowa State replace those receivers.
Yeah.
Historically, when they've had those big seasons, they usually pull back a little bit, but they're bringing the defense back. They have the quarterback. Let's see what they can do. But I got Kansas State in a close one.
Yeah, so do I, and so does the Einsteins and the PATC family. They took Kansas State, 55% of the vote went with Kansas State. I took Kansas State, so we are all in agreement. We'll see what happens.
Yes, we will. Have a good one.
You got it. Thank you, Replica. Beautiful call, man. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I understand what Replica is saying about the sense of urgency. The only thing that I would come back with is the sense of urgency. I want that sense of urgency to be for a larger pot of teams. You know, the olden days, there was a sense of urgency. If you lost one football game, you were out and all that, but it didn't keep enough fan bases in the season watching. These media partners are spending so much money on this content. And now the institutions are playing the student athletes. So they've got to rev up the regular season as valuable as possible for the next media negotiations. And they're following the path of the NFL and all these other professional leagues that makes the regular season more important because they've expanded the playoffs and it's all based on conference standings, conference races. So in this new version, if it ever happens, there would be an urgency. If you're a fifth place team, you still got a shot to get into the top four of your conference. That game that's being played on a Saturday afternoon, third week of November, is going to be way more important than it's ever been before. And there's going to be a lot of those types of games. And I happen to think we're not going to lose the importance of the rivalry of a Michigan, Ohio State, or Oklahoma and Texas, or I mean, the Buckeyes won the national championship last year in a 12-team format. They finished fourth in the conference. They lost to Michigan, but they got to the playoffs and they won really impressively. And that loss to Michigan still haunts them. They hate it. They want to. So these games, the top end games, I haven't seen any evidence that the importance, the urgency of those games have slipped in a 12-team playoff. But I did have evidence of a whole lot of games meant so much more than it ever had before. I mean, I was watching that SMU Duke game, man. I think we were doing a watch party. That SMU Duke game, that crazy game, had so much more importance because of the expanded playoffs than. And then when BYU lost to Kansas at home, holy smokes! So I mean, there were a whole bunch of games like that that would not have had the same importance of a 4-game or 4-team or 16 playoffs, in my opinion. But it was a great call by Replica. Unbelievable. Mr. Longhorn, the architect. Replica on 3 definitely flipped. No mention of the Southeastern Conference exploring large models. No mention, and CBS mentioned it, and the Athletic mentioned it. No mocking of the Southeastern Conference by anybody. Greg, the play-in games don't create urgency without being an elimination game. True. Now, the example that we shown that was being passed around, the play-in games are just really basically the first round of the playoffs. Kind of, sort of. Basically, one of the ideas is not to even have play-in games, but to have, if you are an eligible team, you are in the playoffs. You could build play-in games off this model. You know, you could have, for example, the Big 12 could have their top 2 teams make the playoffs. The top team's the Big 12 champion, but the 3rd place team has to play the 6th place team. The 4th place team has to play the 5th place team, and you can have your own Big 12 plans. But this idea, really the play-ins are just basically pushed into the first round of the playoffs. But again, that's just one idea that's being passed around.
Call from. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
I did not get a name. I need a name before I pop you on the screen. Please say your name. Here we go.
Call from.
Mothprof.
There we go. My prof.
Howdy, sir.
How you doing, sir? Thanks for calling.
The
floor is yours.
Thank you. I have one of those crazy ideas that I always bring up. People say I'm stupid, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Now go ahead.
Well, I mean, if they want to build excitement throughout the entire season, and they want the playoffs to mean more, and they want the conference races to mean more.
Yep.
Every conference is greedy, so they're not going to do this. But I've already put it in the chat. I submitted it already. We need 4 major conferences with 20 schools each, and then you bust those 4 conferences, those 20 schools, into 4 pods with 5 teams each in each pod. Okay? Mm-hmm. And then you have 10 conference games for every conference. So every single pod member plays their 4 other teams in their pod, and they have one crossover rivalry with one team from each other pod in their conference. There's 10 conference games, and then you play one other team in each other pod. There's your 10 conference games every single year. Okay? And then you have a playoff within each conference. The top 4 teams have a 4-team playoff, and the winners of those advance on to it writes itself. There'd be so much money because it would keep everybody involved across the entire country. You want eyeballs not in a region. You don't want eyeballs in a part of the country. You want eyeballs across the entire country. That's going to create revenue for everybody involved. And I don't understand why they don't see something like this if they want to do it, because everybody's greedy for their own personal conference or their own personal team.
Well, I think you answered
It makes too much sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it makes too much sense for the smart people to understand what to do.
Yeah, I think you answered your own question. You know, I think the only way that would even have a chance of working if there was some Super League creation, and there are forces for that and forces against it, and because
It drops off all the FCS and the G6 basically for most of it. Yes, and that's a negative.
yeah.
So, but that's what if big time college football is going to be NFL light, you got to design it something like that. That's just my personal opinion. Thanks for taking my call, Greg.
Thank you, sir. Call again, my man.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.
You got it. My prof. Beautiful. Excellent call by my prof. If you haven't done so yet, or if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and turn on those notifications. We can come on live at any time. In the morning, in the afternoon, at night, we cover all the breaking news in and around college football. And so give us a call. Hit the subscribe button. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. I want to thank you all for joining us today. It was a Tuesday, very lively August 19th show. Thank you for all the donations that we have received from Jim, from Buckeye Greg, from Heartbreak 25, from Bill G. Thank you for the 5 gifted membership. The Evil Badger, Jerry, and Nick Kelso. I appreciate all of you joining us today. Thank you for the donations. Great phone calls. As we head into Wednesday, we are getting closer and closer to Farmageddon, and we are going to be covering that live watch party 11:30 in the morning Eastern Time, 10:30 Central Time, 9:30 Mountain Time. What is it? 8:30 Pacific Time. That's when we're going to start the watch party. Farmageddon, Iowa State, Kansas State, Dublin, Ireland. You watch the game at home. I watch the game here. We put down our comments in the chat room in real time. We keep the score up on our famous blackboard and our famous chalk. We're going to have a great time, so please join us. And we're going to have a great time during the rest of this week as we cover everything in college football. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, PATC, to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers.